Hi, I'm Stacey Byerly, and I'm here with Collean O'Brien, and we're going to discuss a wonderful topic today called manifestations and frustrations. So, what are your most frustration points in manifestations?
When it doesn't show up, right? Like
Right?
you're like, where's my stuff? Right? Like I did all the things. I made my list. I went into the theta state. I said, Creator, I have this now. I felt all the feelings and mixed up the energy. I let it all go. I kept in that energy and like where's my stuff? Why is it not here? Right? Like why am I still frustrated? Why am I still in the same pattern? That's I think a lot of people have that, right? Like I was actually drawn to theta healing specifically for the manifesting and abundance class.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to take. And then of course I found out that you needed to take a couple other classes before you could take manifesting and abundance. And I was like, oh my God, now I've just quadrupled the amount of spend and time I've got to put out before I can get the thing that I want. Like it
Right.
was, I was just, I was like, all right, now, like, I really, like, how do I manifest to do the class about manifesting when I don't have the skill to, like, I want to learn how to manifest. It just seemed like a cart before the horse. You know what I mean?
Right. And I feel that a lot of healers get into this it takes time mentality. Is like, oh well, yeah, I guess it does take some time. I mean, you got to have action, you got to have other things as far as that goes. But the fact that, oh, it'll take 1,000 years for this to happen is often what the soul really, when it's a soul level belief, that is what it has in there. It's like, oh, it's going to take 1,000 years for me to get a dollar, but
Well, and remember too that the soul time is different on the different planes.
right.
So, like 1,000 years for us in human time would be like, that's several lifetimes if we reincarnate or whatever. But the soul, like that's sort of a time frame that's reasonable for a soul, right?
Yeah. I remember this old radio show that I used to listen to in LA, and they would have conversations between this guy and God, right? So there was like, okay, what is $1,000,000 to you, God? Oh, it's a nickel. Oh, what's a second to you, God? I don't know. What's 1,000 years to you, God? Oh, a second. And like they were saying, oh well, can I have $1,000,000? Can I have a nickel? Oh yeah, in a second. Like, ooh, well, that can happen when you have distorted beliefs on what one deserves and what one is creating and what creator is, honestly. What do you call the energy of creation? How was that instilled into your upbringing, your life, your ancestral lines, all of that fun stuff? So,
Yeah. Yeah, there's always something to dig on. There's always something else to clear, right? And even after you manifest something, and it's like, all right, oh boy, okay, what's next? When are we going to manifest next? Right?
yeah,
You're never done. There's just always something coming next. But
right.
let's talk a little bit about the deserving piece because that was something you had brought up before we hit record.
Yeah. I mean, so that's deserving is one of the best things you can do for yourself. Just getting into a space of deserving, like, and that's subtly different than the societal norm of like, I've worked hard, I deserve this. But
Well, and because that's more of a like, I'm owed. Like you owe me. Creator owes me. I put it in. I put in the time. I put in the work. So now you owe me. I deserve it.
right.
Right. That's not the energy that we're talking about here.
No, not at all. But it's more of like, you are whole, healthy, and complete and deserving of unconditional love and abundance just as you are. And that's, some people are like, well, I need the next iPhone to be cool, or I need the next thing to be cool. And that's, deserving is one of those things where if we don't have creator's highest truth of deserving, we can get into that iPhone mentality. You know, it's
I'll be
like,
happy when, I'll be deserving when, and it's conditional, right?
right,
And you know, when you, even if you're just using the law of attraction, you can't get there from there, right? You can't, you know, have a joyful experience if you're still feeling really lousy. Like you have to become an emotional, vibrational match to the thing that you want to be manifesting. And so, yeah, so, and so it's got, it can't be conditional in that way.
right. It can't be conditional. There's nothing wrong with wanting the next iPhone, but it's being attached to having the next iPhone.
Or feeling like I'm only deserving when I have the next iPhone or whatever it is that you're manifesting. Like that's the proof. Like I doubt that I'm deserving, but oh, if this shows up, that'll prove I'm deserving.
Right.
You gotta feel deserving first.
Right. And just as a side note, that's how people manifest illnesses, is like they're like, oh, we need to work harder to get space for ease. But it's like, in my personal experience, I don't know about yours, but it never really does happen, you know, in that frame of mind. So what I've kind of adapted to in my life is ease comes before work, as far as like, yeah, maybe I need to take 10 minutes and just sit for a minute and not think about, you know, like the avalanche, or the avalanche referring to current problem, or I need to stretch. Stretching.
I'm glad you meant that avalanche was current problem, because I'm like, if there really was an avalanche, taking a moment might kill you. Like if there really was an avalanche, you better move, right? Like
Right.
so
Right.
yeah. But sometimes, yeah, and it can be overwhelming. And society tells you, you know, dive in, jump right in. But taking a moment to breathe, taking a moment to even just ask creator, like, hey, what do I do first? Like, what do I need to do here? Or even just what energy can I be today to really just set myself up for more ease?
Mhm.
Because you can't have ease from a place of work.
Right.
You know,
And
if you do more work, I found in my experience, when you do more work, you just get more work.
right. And you know, that's why a lot of clients come with work-life balance issues of like, you know, my relationship is poor, but I'm making a lot of money. And like, you know, that's one of the tropes that we get into, and that really creates a waveform of like, you know, if I'm not at ease, I'm in a heightened state. And then if I'm not at work, I'm in a heightened state. Or if I'm, you know, it just creates this waveform that doesn't make any sense to the logic brain. It makes sense to the soul and it makes sense to the subconscious mind, but it doesn't make sense here on planet Earth.
Right. Your soul and subconscious doesn't really get the concept of retirement, right? Like you put your time in so that then I can enjoy myself later. Or even just, hey, I get only so much time for vacation. So I gotta, how many people overwork ahead and after they get back from vacation, just so that they can have those 2 weeks off, and they wind up actually doing more work than they would have if they had just not, you know, had those 2 weeks off, right?
Right.
So there is that, you know, sort of societal pressure of, you know, you can't actually rest right now. You just always have to go. Although I think with the way that the world has changed too, more and more people, you know, with the great resignation, more and more people are just not accepting this anymore. You know, they're like, I'm not going to keep just putting my nose to the grindstone for some future reward that may not actually ever materialize.
Right. And then we get into this whole like rat race mentality of like, got to get the money to get the food to get the, you know, to pay the bills and all this stuff. When you really are in divine flow and are deserving of everything you've wanted in life and deserving of your own existence, that's when stuff just comes to you.
And does it ever really come the way you think it's going to come? Like, does it ever
Not
show up the way you think it's going to show up?
No, it doesn't. Sometimes it is exactly like I wanted the red pair of shoes. All right, got the red pair of shoes. But sometimes it's like the feelings are there. And that's why in theta healing and in other modalities, the feeling work and what it feels like to have certain things in one's life is so important. I mean, so
And yeah, those
that's how
downloads
we
can be really
avoid.
powerful, particularly if you haven't ever felt that before, or you wouldn't be able to recognize it if it was there. Like that's what that feeling download does. It opens you up to be able to recognize it when it appears, so that then you can amplify that and really celebrate that, knowing that the feeling sometimes is the manifestation.
Right. And before you know it, when you're in that, there is no waveform anymore. There is simply just a subtle motion in the ocean, as far as it's not turbulent anymore. It's just calm. And yes, in life, things do happen, but it's when things happen and you're in divine flow and you're deserving, you can sail through them a lot easier than, oh no, what just happened? Oh no.
There, you just move from crisis to crisis, right? You're like,
Yes,
okay, I'm at this low
exactly.
point, and then oh my god, I'm. And some people that's the only way they know how to manifest. They have to be in crisis. They have to hit rock bottom before they can muster all of their manifesting mojo, and then everything works out, and then they have to crash again in order to be able to produce those manifestation results.
Right.
Doesn't have to be that way. It can be like that beautiful image you had of just that calm, like just calm seas, just, everything's in the flow. It's still in that liquid state. It's still, but it's not that turbulent up and down, tsunami waves of crisis.
Yeah, and many people, I'm sure you found in your clients too, as far as like having disease to create a obscured version of ease. It's like, now I'm sick, I have to sit on the couch. Or now even more, my leg is broken. Like I've all kinds of stuff. It's like, what is this for? This is a way station point.
And sometimes it's easier, right? Because if they feel like they couldn't quit that job or couldn't change a job, or they would be looked down on if they left that job, well, then your subconscious is so brilliant. They're like, okay, we know you want to leave the job. How can we manifest that? Oh, if these other avenues aren't there for you to actually like take a step away from the job, then we'll just make you sick so that you get out of having to go to that job. Like,
Mm.
isn't that brilliant? Your subconscious is so smart at solving problems. But what if you didn't have to get sick in order to solve the problem of not having enough ease?
Yeah.
Because
And
illness really is called dis-ease, right?
right. It the subconscious mind is really funny in that way. It's like, you ever be digging and then doing your theta healing digging work and be like, okay, well, I exist without existing. I achieve ease through dis-ease. It's like, that's what we call a dualistic belief, a dual belief, and they can fight with each other. It's like, you are the best and the worst. You manifest ease and dis-ease. And if I don't deserve, I have a delusion on deserving, you can be like, oh, you got that new car and that new house, and then something happens to sabotage that. And that's realistically, that's what I view as the waveform of manifestation. So
Yep, like what you put in is what you get out, right? Like it's a function, right? You plug it, it's a function, and what variables you plug in, it'll tell you, okay, where are you on that point of the waveform? Yep.
right. And when you're there in it, it doesn't really seem like a small thing. right? But when you're 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years out, not a big thing at all. It's like, why was I thinking like that earlier in life? Because that's how you were, and that's where you were, and that's the experience you needed to get out of where you were.
And
And
that is one of the really great tools of theta healing, is going to the seventh plane of getting creator's perspective of, just lifting yourself out of the here and now. What's that expression? You can't see the forest for the trees. When you're really in it, okay, it may not make any sense. And sometimes you're just in it. You're like, okay, I just got to get through, whatever I'm doing. But being able to work with another healer or yourself, go to creator and get that wider perspective can really open you up and expand. And you can see that waveform, not just from the point where you are. You can see the greater waveform.
right. And just as one of my lowest points in life was going through a lot of trauma and a car accident and having a physical ailment for quite a long time. And I look back at that now and I'm like, I was not doing very well back then, but I was like, that's what I needed to start looking at my own stuff. And
it forced you to find theta healing, to find other alternative treatments, to look for your, because you weren't willing to accept that that was all there was, and that was all you were going to experience for your life. You wanted something more, and you took the action to manifest something different for yourself.
yeah, and that's one of the most powerful things. No matter where you're at in the waveform of manifestation, it's always going to end in divine order. That's the best way I can put it, because no matter where you move, what you do, what job changes you do throughout life, whatever's meant for you is coming for you, no matter what you do.
It's coming for you. You can't run away from it.
But it's
Here's the divine order. We're here for you. We found you.
it's not quite like that, but like it's quite funny like that. But it's like, I mean, I'm sure you ever start working hard for something, the societal norm for hard, and then you just kind of let go of it and you don't pay attention to it and what society says not to do, and just kind of leave it there, and then it just comes in. I don't know.
And it's more like, oh, there you are, right?
Yeah.
Like you would ordered a package and it was on back order and you kept checking on it and you're like, where is it? What's going on? And then you forget about it. Oh, okay, whatever. And then it just shows up at your door and you're like, oh, there you are. Here's the thing I've been asking for this whole time.
Yeah. And that's where the belief clearing comes in, really, is like, Vienna, the founder of Theta Healing, says, okay, in your divine timing, you're going to end up there. How you're going to end up there and how many turns you take is up to you.
Yeah, you get to choose what kind of experience you have in between where you are and where you're going.
Yeah.
You want to have a miserable time, or do you want to have a joyful time?
Yeah. And, the soul, I don't want to say that the soul doesn't know joy, but there's a little bit of a different perspective on this life as a soul.
But that's something else you can do belief work on. Does your soul believe it has to be difficult? Does your soul believe it has to struggle? Is that the like, for me, my soul thinks that's the most efficient way to learn. And I'm super impatient and I want things fast. So yeah, I signed up for all the struggle I could because I want to get to the finish line first.
Yeah.
So it's not the easiest way, but it's the fastest way. It kind of, if I could quote The Simpsons for a moment, like, do you remember that episode where Homer changed his name to Max Power? And he goes, there's the right way, the wrong way, and the Max Power way. And Lisa goes, isn't that just the wrong way? And he goes, yes, but faster. So my soul was all about the Max Power way.
Right.
until I worked on it. And every now and again, there's still other layers that pop up about that of like, oh wow, I'm choosing to do this way more difficultly than it needs to be.
Right.
But yeah, you can do belief work on your soul, but it's important to recognize that your soul's perspective is different than the perspective that you have as a human being.
Mhm. Yeah, one of my teachers, and she's probably going to watch this and start laughing. She's like, get off the struggle bus.
Where does the struggle bus take you? To Misery Town? Like, where does that go?
Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes it takes you on the hard way of doing things. But that's why being in divine flow and doing gratitude and all of these things, even when you're going through a waveform of manifestation, that can kind of keep your perspective higher than just this life, this plane.
Yeah, because there's always something to be grateful for. And I don't know about you, Stacey, but I've done other videos from years ago too of gratitude, and I'm not always really all that good at doing it daily, right? So I have this jar here that's got these little pieces of paper, the page a day for my calendar, and then I can write like, hey, what was I grateful for each day, and then put it in the jar. But look, I've got yesterday's and today's sitting here, haven't done them yet. And this is definitely not like a whole year's worth of stuff. I'm really bad at doing it all the time.
Right.
But I can look at my undercurrent. What do I get out of not having my daily gratitude practice? Because it's serving me in some way, right? Because I know it works. I know it raises my vibration. I know it feels good. Yet I find excuses not to do it.
Right.
And it's so simple. It's not like I'm going to like the gym to sweat for 45 minutes on a treadmill. I'm just writing something down on a piece of paper and I'm not doing it.
Right. And that's kind of like the stack of dishes. The stack of dishes can be 4 dishes, and you're like, man, I don't want to do the dishes.
You mean the dish fairy doesn't come to do your dishes for you? You don't manifest a dish fairy to show up and visit your house?
No, not at all. But until you actually get into it and actually do it, sometimes it can be like, oh, I don't feel like doing that today. And what I do is I walk up and I was like, okay, what do we need to do here to get back into, like, why am I in what I like to call opposition mode? Like, why did you do that to me? Why am I creating resistance into this? And sometimes it's just going for a walk. Other times it is literally writing down on paper what you are frustrated about, what you're going through, what your pains are, and then flip the page, literally, and start, what are we thankful for, even though all this stuff is happening? I use this a lot, as far as you walk in a big city and you see a homeless person, and some of them are going through their own thing, and some of them are happy as hell. So it's like, why is that person happy as hell? All right, so he may not have a roof over his head, but he may have food and all this stuff, and he just might be happy where he's at. And that's just the art of detachment, as it were. So that's
right. Because I mean, that's a perfect example of not needing your physical conditions to dictate your emotional state.
right. Yeah. And it's, whether you deal with chronic pain, or you're frustrated at your boss, or you're frustrated at yourself, I can still breathe. Just start with the breath. Sit down and be like, all right, I can breathe. This is awesome. I'm thankful for the breath. And that's simple.
Simple things that you take for granted. Like the sun came up today. I have faith that the sun's going to come up again tomorrow.
Yeah. What does Abraham do? Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks says,
Mhm.
be thankful for your pillow. Like
Everything is just around you, right? Like, yeah, like, oh, these comfy pajamas that I'm in. Well, a spoiler alert, I don't sleep naked. I wear pajamas. The covers, the blanket that surrounds you, the bed itself. Oxygen's a great thing. There's always plenty of oxygen, right? Like, you never worry that we're gonna not be able to have enough air to breathe. There's always plenty. And that's another way to, oh, okay, I have plenty of that. What else do I have plenty for? I already know what that feels like. I already know I don't even have to think about it. And she even goes into, like all of the stuff that your body is doing automatically that you don't have to be consciously aware of, right? You don't have to think about the beating of your heart all the time. It just does it, right? So just those simple things of being alive, and that can get you started on that rampage of appreciation, which is what the term that I think Abraham Hicks uses. And then, once it might be, you got to get over the hump in terms of starting, like you get over that little resistance. But then once you start noticing more things to be grateful for, then you notice even more things to be grateful for, and more things to be grateful for, and more things to be grateful for. And it just, snowballs on itself like that.
yeah.
And it's so simple. Yep. Again, I don't do it. I don't write the thing. Some days I run out of space, and I have to write really small and around the edges and stuff, right? And other days, sometimes it's I gotta do the, well, the sun came up today, and I'm still breathing. Like some days, yeah, like those are the things I gotta start at.
Yeah. And it's important with all of this work to, if you miss a day, that's okay. And if you miss 2 days, that's okay. All we can do is go forward. So start today. What are we doing today? What can we do today? And in fact, when you have a problem, like, okay, you got to file your taxes by April 15th or whatever that is, whatever you're dealing with. It's like, what is one action I can take right now, no matter how small, to make you feel at ease with this? And that's where you start. You take that one action, you go as far as you can, and then you center yourself. All right, what am I thankful for? And if you can't find anything, just go for a walk and look at find a spot in nature, find a spot in a park, spend some time doing what you love, what lights you up. So, what lights you up?
Oh gosh, watching episodes of Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi. I could watch that guy read names out of the phone book. Remember phone books when they used to be like, physical things?
Yeah.
And I do like taking a walk. But you really, when I tune into like observing, and sometimes I got to be on that walk for like 45 minutes because all the stuff is still going on in my brain trying to solve some solution or what I'm angry about or whatever. That's why I love your example too of, just writing down. It almost seemed like that verbal vomit of like, oh my God, my life is crap. This is all the stuff that's really bothering me. Blah, 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 blah. And then you just get it out, right? And then you're like, okay, now I don't have to hold that anymore. The page is holding it. And then, but the trick is, like you said, literally turn the page. So when I go for a walk, sometimes I have to like just sort of get to that point of, okay, now I can start to look at the clouds and appreciate the breeze through the leaves of the trees. And, oh, hey, that bird showed up just for me. And isn't that lovely? And, I can say hi to whoever else is walking along the path or, pet some dog that's being walked that's there as well. And really just open myself up to being in the moment and in that experience. Also being grateful for, hey, my body is ambulatory. I'm able to walk. I'm able to enjoy this. I'm able to pull in all of this from my different senses of feeling the breeze on my skin, of seeing these birds and hearing the rustle of the breeze through the trees and the leaves, and just, connecting to the earth too. The earth is so so beautiful in terms of just taking your crap and transforming it. Like you can just gift stuff to the earth all the time. She's amazing that way. But you have to also be willing to receive from her too. Receive that healing from Mother Earth too. And
Mhm.
take it for a walk. Just being outside is a great way to just absorb that.
Yeah, and of course being careful of, stuff in the road, but do some of it barefoot.
Mm, yeah, that grounding thing. I love being barefoot in the grass. I remember one time we were at an arboretum. I was with my mom. We were gonna hook up with like the rest of the family at some point, and it was just this beautiful, lush, green lawn in front of us. And I looked at her and I was like, let's take our shoes off, walk across. And it just seemed like something like I would never have done. My mom probably would have never thought of that on her own, but she was like, and I'll do it if you do it. And we did. We took our shoes and socks off and we walked across. And then, of course, there was a bench on the other side. So we, sat down and put our shoes back on. But, it just felt so cool and, like of the blades through your toes. And I love that I could share that with my mom.
Yeah, and that's sharing the love is one of the most important things. And what is love? Love is at the bottom of it. Sometimes it's just being authentic, is being like, how do you want to show up? Do you want to show it up with a list of a bunch of stuff going on the paper, or do you want space?
And I think it's important to note too that you can love someone and still not want to spend time with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like choosing not to be in their space sometimes can be the most loving thing you can do for them and for you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like, okay, sometimes we need space. Otherwise, we're going to get into an argument or whatever, create some.
Which again, could also be healing, could also be wonderful. Oh, you're triggered. Great. Like it brings that stuff to the surface. It makes you aware of it.
Yeah.
But you got to take responsibility for it too.
Right, exactly. And responsibility, whether it's action, being with your feelings, what you're feeling right now, or putting space between you and other people, that is important. Do what you need for your holistic wellness, holistic being the entire picture. If you feel not so great, then you're going to show up not so great. So do all you can to feel as good as you can, have as much ease as you can. So that's just been one of my lessons in life more recently.
Yeah, and I think that that's how we progress and we grow, right? Like just because we're Theta healing instructors and we have all this experience doesn't mean we're not still changing and developing. And it's not that we aren't still healing and we don't still have stuff that comes up. Like we're still on our soul's path and our soul's journey. Mm-hmm. And we've still got our own things.
Yeah, we've still got our own stuff. And I've ran across people that are like, you're an instructor, oh my goodness. I'm like, well,
they could be an instructor too if they took the classes, right? It's not like like the archangels came down and put a little halo over your head, like, oh, you are chosen, you are an instructor now. Like that's not how it works.
We've been studying it longer, we've found our way of digging, believe it or not, even though, for example, dig deeper, there is a formula for digging, but everybody does it their own way. And whether I do Theta healing or Colleen does Theta healing or you do Theta healing there in the audience, everyone's going to bring their own flavor, their own pizzazz, as it were, to the modality.
I love that. Theta healing pizzazz. Like it feels like it needs jazz hands.
Right. Well, Colleen, it's been really fun and it's been really enlightening speaking with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me online on my website, colleanobrien.com. That's Colleen with an A, O'Brien with an E, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Colleen O'Brien Healer. I'm sure we'll leave all the links for you to find somewhere, wherever this video is going to live, so that you can just easily click on it. So yeah, thank you. Find me online.
Yes, and same for me. I'm on Facebook. I have an Instagram, although I'm still working on using that. But I will leave links to my upcoming Theta Healing classes as well as Colleen's in the description below or on Facebook, wherever this is posted. But thank you, Colleen. It's been so wonderful.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. It's always great to talk with you, Stacey. I love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next time.